Good evening, excuse me, and welcome to another episode of From the Soapbox. This is the show where we get on our high horse and rant and rave to our heart's content. And tonight's rant will be something that everyone has heard of by now. The artist formerly known as Kanye West. Kanye West, or the artist formerly known as Kanye West, or Ye as he likes to be called. I don't care. I'm gonna call him Kanye, not frickin'. But Mr. West has been on a tirade as of late. He has disparaged Jews. He disparaged black people. He's brought out a new shirt line called White Lives Matter and worked with Candace Owens. And we'll leave her for another day because she's a whole different context. Whole different kettle of fish. But anyway, he did all this and then went so far as to say, Adidas will never drop me. And then the next day, Adidas dropped him. Let's deep dive into the life of this talented but very troubled individual. Back in the day, in the early 2000s, where he had College Dropout and all these other projects, I forget them offhand, whatever. But he came across as a very talented, very versatile young rapper. And his trajectory was going up, and everything looked good. He then got together with Jay-Z, and his star continued went upward. Things went off the rails when his mom died. Much like Mike Tyson when Cus D'Amato died, Miss West was the glue that kept them together. Quite literally, she was the glue that kept him level and going forward and being an asset to society. She's no longer there to help guide him and mold him. He goes off the rails. Slowly. He starts saying things he shouldn't say. One of the things that he did that really upset me personally was when he got with Jay-Z. Jay-Z called himself Jehovah, and he called himself Jesus. What? Now, for those who didn't know, Jehovah is a slang word for Jehovah. Jehovah is the name of God. Hence the phrase is like, hallelujah, praise Jah, praise Jehovah. And Jesus was a turn of phrase on Jesus. Jay-Z was on top. Underneath him was Kanye, Jehovah, and Jesus. That was an affront to my dignity. I wasn't going to stand for it. It was about then I pretty much turned him off. But he wasn't done yet. Oh no. Not Mr. West. Mr. West then, through his periodic rants and raves, caught the attention of one Kim Kardashian, who's another one for another day. I can do a show on Candace. I could do another show on Kim because plenty to unpack. If you like them, you like them. Hey, I don't. To each his own. That's all. I wish no ill will upon these people, but I don't want to see them either. But I digress. Kim was about to um, divorce that ex-net basketball player. I forget his name offhand. But she's about to do him wrong, and Mr. West decided to shoot a shot, and he won her over. They got married and proceeded to have 4 kids. They were doted as the power couple, Kimye, the media like to call them. Their star was on the rise again. The only thing that could stop Kimye was either Kim or Kanye. During the time that he had his 4 children and was married to Miss Kardashian, I'm guessing he stopped taking his medicine. He's been diagnosed schizophrenic, and he's also shown narcissistic tendencies. Extremely paranoid, extremely delusional. The sun can't rise or set unless Kanye makes it so. Whatever. Once again, to each his own. You like him, support him. You don't, you don't. I'm not going to tell you what to do. It's not my place to tell you what to do. I'm simply providing commentary. But anyway, he began to do things that to the average person seemed a little off. And as time went on, these things became more and more pronounced. He began to disparage his wife. He would say things like she wasn't dressing right. But he's the one that dressed her. He's the fashion mogul. She wore pretty much what he wanted her to wear. So if she wasn't dressing right, it's his fault, not hers. And once again, I'm not saying anything that isn't already well known and documented. This man began to notice that his wife was getting a bit sick and tired of his escapades. He bought a ranch in Wyoming and planned to move the entire family up there where they could live out their lives and do their own thing, away from the prying eyes of the media and everybody else. Kim didn't want that because the media is her lifeline. That's her lifeblood. She's out of limelight. She's as good as gone. And she knows it. So she balked at that. Mr. West didn't like that and began to say as such. And things got to a point where she finally said, you know what? I'm not going to deal with him anymore. We're getting a divorce. And that is when Mr. West, to my mind, completely lost the plot. Because in one breath, he was saying, oh, he needed her back and he would do anything to get her back. In the next breath, he dates somebody that looks like her and slamming her in the media every chance he gets. Which one is it? You're not going to get somebody back if you sit there and disparage them. That goes against common sense. So I don't know what you're trying to prove. But if you're looking to alienate friends and disown people, that's it, my guy. You're doing a bang up job of it. So there's the story of his eldest daughter North's birthday party that he wasn't invited to. He decided to crash and disparage and make it all about him and everything else. I'm going to stop right there because there's something that needs to be said. To those who think that this is a Mr. West issue, you're only seeing half of it. Because in life, everything touches everybody else. Everything touches everything. What you do will affect somebody, whether directly or indirectly. Somewhere down the line, they will be affected by your choices. And when you're a star like Mr. West, it becomes more apparent. But at the same time, ask yourself this. If you are a female and you decide to marry somebody who doesn't seem to be all there, who's going to be surprised when it goes off the rails? I'm not. I could have told you that. Anybody looking at it would have told you that. The man has delusions of grandeur. He's bipolar. He's off his medication. So, Lord knows what's going to happen next. Nobody knows. Nobody knows at all. And as far as his talent's concerned, there's a saying, genius is next to insanity. There's a razor thin line between genius and insanity. Razor thin. There's no wiggle room. You take one step off the line and you fall one way or other. And it's easy to be considered insane. Society has a play in it because society dictates the rules and sets the guidelines and parameters. So what society dictates will determine what's normal, what's abnormal. Being a free thinker, quote unquote, free thinker, is one of the surest ways to get kicked off the normal wagon. I'm not saying that you can't be a free thinker. You want to be a free thinker? Be a free thinker. But once again, to quote Baron Mordo from Doctor Strange, the bill always comes due. Or better yet, if you sow the wind, you reap the whirlwind. There are always consequences for your actions. Some are instantaneous in their delivery, others take time. But once again, to quote Mr. Morto, the bill is always due. And when that bill comes due, you have to pay. And in this case, payment is being held accountable for your actions. I honestly don't know what the future holds for Mr. West. He's bought Parler and intends to make sure that everybody on that application has freedom of speech, which is the most oxymoronic of turns of phrase that there could possibly be. It's in the Constitution. No, it's not. Not the way you define it. Freedom of speech simply means that the government will not interfere with you or attempt to silence you while speaking against the government. Key words: against the government. It doesn't extend to businesses, it doesn't extend to everyday people. Yes, you may have freedom of speech, but my freedom of choice trumps your freedom of speech. I haven't played a Kanye West record in years. I don't think I'll ever play one again now. Because that's my way of showing this ain't cool, you ain't cool. And if I get hate for that, so be it. I'm a big boy. I can take the heat. Whatever happens, happens. And Mr. West, in conclusion, I want to say, get some help, my dude. Get some help. The Lord knows you need it. All this free thinking thoughts and being anti Semitic and being racist, being prejudiced against your own kind, all this stuff is not a good look, my dude. You can think whatever you like. That's something that's as old as time itself and will never ever change. You are free to think whatever you like. What you are not free to do is commit verbal diarrhea and spew whatever's going on in your head. You don't like Jewish people? That's on you. Keep it to yourself. Black people like slavery? Okay, that's your thought. To keep it to yourself. White lives matter? Fine. Keep it to yourself. Your opinions weren't asked for, they weren't solicited, and they sure as hell aren't needed. And thanks to Mr. West, you've given more fuel for those who would do us ill to be more brazen about it. See? Even when your own people think this way about you. You prove us that he's just proving our point. That's right. and you'll be a useful idiot right up to the point where you're no longer useful. Then what happens? Palling around with Donald Trump. Whatever he's smoking, I want a double hit. That must have been some good stuff. Don't be stingy, pass it around. Because you got to be on some super special nude and prude-ish to consort with the enemy. You got to be on some next level stuff to think that this man is your friend. And you guys were friends right up to the point where you thought you decided that you were going to run, and then he wanted nothing to do with you. And quick question for you, Mr. West. When you decided to run for president of the United States, did you even think to ask the missus if she was cool with it? I'm curious because that kind of thought process, that decision making process, directly affects her, directly affects the family. She may not, but she may have not liked that. And I don't think she did. And I can't blame her simply because with all the dirt coming out now, how much more dirt would have came out if they did go public and decided to run for office? How much anti Kim Kardashian stuff would the media come up with? And they would come up with it. Believe it. There's once a Catholic priest, I forget his name, but he was attributed by saying, "Give me enough time, and I'll have enough to hang the Pope." Stuff can be fabricated, especially in today's age where information is literally a click away. You can do deep dives on people and come up with information. Wow, I didn't know that. True or not? And more times, especially in the internet age, a lot of the stuff that's going up with is patently untrue. Or more importantly, and more accurately, not taken in proper context. Because this is the area of sound bites. And a soundbite can be 10 or 15 seconds with no context behind it. Enough of those, and you can crucify somebody. Perfect example. Um, Two men are talking. One man says to the other one, "The things that people say these days can be outrageous on his face unless they're given with the proper context." Third man comes by and hears things they say patently false. And says, "Wow, I'm gonna run with that." And he goes on the internet and he makes a post. The post goes viral. Now, there's no context behind it. And there was no context asked for because he overheard it. He simply thought, this would be good. I'm going to run with it. That's how quickly and how easily something can be taken out of context and spread. A lie will be halfway around the world in the time it takes the truth to put his shoes on. Wow. Just wow. What does it have to do with Mr. West? Simple. Mr. West is the type of person who will hear something and regurgitate it word for word. No fact checking, no context, no nothing. White lives matter. Of course they do. No one said they didn't. Context. Jews owe all the money. There's some truth in that. But context. Is everybody rich? Is Jewish? No. There's some dirt poor Jewish people. Context. You, you can't take something at face value for what it is, turn around and tell other people about it without knowing where it came from and what context was given to it. There's a story behind everything that's said. That's one of the media's biggest failings. But that also is a story from the day. That's the third. That's the third one I've come with. Speaking of a story from another day, we're coming to the end of this one. Thank you, one and all, for letting me vent. And as always, we operate in the rule of threes. Like, 1 second. Subscribe, 2 seconds. Notification, 3 seconds. 3 seconds, 3 separate actions that would do this platform a world of good. If you want to go a bit further, consider donations. I intend to put them in the comments below. You feel the need to rock with us? Do it. And until the next time, this is OBJ, your humble, well-intentioned host, saying peace to you all and good night.